Welcome to Millan Foundation Conversations, where we talk all things community, philanthropy, and connect people together. We hope you enjoy our show.
Welcome to Millan Conversations. I'm 𝗨�57, and I just get the privilege to be here today with 𝗨𝗿𝗶𝗴𝗶 with Judy's Hope and Dylan Jennings with Clarksville Coalition for a Cause. We are so excited to share some of the great things they're doing in our community here, and then hopefully share some insights of how these nonprofits are just advancing their missions in just absolutely unbelievable ways. They've both had stellar years this year, and I think rolling into 2025, they have some great goals in front of them. But we really want to share a message of, first, we want you involved. We want you to get in the game and volunteer and support these kind of groups. But also, if you're a nonprofit listening today, we hope you get some information about how these two groups are being successful in our community, in their missions, and I think just the blessings that they're offering people and the lives you're changing. So, let's start it off.
Awesome.
Karen, we'll start with you. Why don't you just share a little bit about Judy's Hope, a brief history of how it came about, and we'll kick it off that way.
Okay, sure. So probably 10 years ago or 8 years ago, we had moved into a brand new house with some great property, and I just found God kind of nudging my soul. He doesn't gift us to hold on to our blessings. He gifts us so that we can share. And so I just started thinking about it. He kept me pretty restless for a while, trying to think through, what do I do? I don't know. I'm just one person here, right? And I had coffee with a friend from out of town, and she shared how her boss was helping a couple who just opened a house for victims of trafficking. I just kind of started pondering in my head, and my husband is a contractor, and he has been wanting to build some tiny houses. So I walked out of that coffee date, got in my car, and I called him. And I said, I have an idea. I know how you're going to build some tiny houses. And I said, but we're not going to sell them. We're going to do it as a ministry for God. I just felt called to do something. And then as I started thinking, what do I call this thing? My mom had passed away, and she was a single mom of 3 children. My sister was a paraplegic who had so many surgeries her first 10 years of life that my mom couldn't work. So we had great family support. We had my dad and grandfather. We were never in need or want. But I started thinking about all these women out there who are trying to make a go of it themselves, that don't have a support network. What do? You do what you can for your kids. So I started researching. I found out that in Montgomery County, there were I think at the time, over 100 students that were classified as homeless within the school system. And so I started thinking, what do we need? There's shelters for men here in Clarksville, Montgomery County. We had the Safe House, but the Safe House at that time, they're lengthening their programming, but at that time, women usually were there for 30 days. And then what do you do at the end of 30 days? If you've left a marriage that was bad, you had a shared bank account, you don't have access to that bank account. How do you get started? Women that are facing homelessness, what decision do they make? And so our goal is to be the second step housing, so to speak. It's somebody that has already gone through the Safe House, or maybe has been in recovery for a year or two, but can't seem to get on their feet, or they need that safe place to land so they don't have to go back to that hard spot. So we are a temporary housing for women that are ready to take the next step to get employment. And so they aren't having to worry about, wait, I need to get a job, but how do I pay the bills?
Yeah.
While I'm trying to get a job.
Get more equipped.
Right. So we're that safe place where they don't pay rent, they live for free. We do have a programming that is Christ-based, and they are required to participate in our community areas and in programming. But while they're there, they're to interview and get a job and then start saving. And the goal is that they are able to save up enough to then be able to have a nest egg to get their own place. And once they graduate, our goal is to send all of the furniture in that tiny house with them to start their housing as well.
That's amazing.
Trying to just be a foundation for women so they don't have to become homeless.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. I think hole you're filling in our community that it takes people with some vision to kind of step into. And so I took some notes. We're going to come back to some of that. I'd like to hear from you, Dylan. Coalition's been around for a few years. I get the opportunity to be a part of such an amazing group myself.
Yeah,
so selfishly,
awesome.
I see the heart and the mission behind what you kind of helped shape and start. It was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this was the end of our 4th year. So we're about to January. Will be a start of our 5th.
Yeah. So just share a little bit of your journey.
First I just want to say that was awesome. I've heard about you guys, but just hearing a little bit more detail of that story is really cool. Yeah. And also, so often it seems like people, they end up in a spot and then they get out of the initial, like they might break the habit or whatever, but then it's like you said, fully equipping them back. I think that's awesome. Anyways, I kind of grew up being involved, thankfully landed into a couple charitable, one being Camp Rainbow. I ended up just kind of falling into that and got to be a part of that, still a part of it. And Coalition, the first time I thought about the idea of it was actually at the end of camp. And I was thinking about how there's all these charities there's great charities like Judy's Hope or Camp Rainbow, but they always need funding. And so I was really thinking about Camp Rainbow at the time when I first thought of it, just to think, man, I always want them to have the funding that they need. And then I got to thinking about, a lot of guys. I'm 39, and my grandfather have both were. My grandfather's passed away, but he was a Mason, and my father's been part. He's a Mason as well, but he's also been a part of other charities that raise money and stuff like that. And I just thought, man, I got a lot of buddies my age that we're really not plugged into stuff like that. Just fellowship with men, and then also, but on mission. And so that's kind of developed in my mind. And long story short, I shared the idea with a couple folks one day, and thankfully, a good friend of mine, Daniel, it landed on his ears, and he was like, called me and was like, hey, we need to do that. And so we just held ourselves accountable to kind of, actually make some things happen. And here we are. We got about 20 members now, and our mission is to really just have, facilitate fellowship of men of good character, but on mission to really financially raise money for other charities such as Judy's Hope in our community that are really, they're doing all the hard work. We're just trying to, throw some events and get, help, support them from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
So
pretty dramatic differences in mission, but the heart is all towards one thing, right?
Sure.
And that's life change.
Sure.
And amazing, Dylan, because being a part of that group, there is an importance to the community that comes around and supports one another. But like you said, the mission is to help those nonprofits that really need the help and that continual funding. And so while you are a nonprofit, it's interesting because the foundation is a similar kind of entity. We do some internal things, but we actually support other nonprofits. It's a big purpose of our foundation. But Judy's Hope, on the other hand, is the ones being the hands and the feet in the field.
They're in there getting it done.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it, though, without organizations like the Coalition. We are not government funded. We are privately funded. And so we depend on that local support, the groups around us in the community.
Well, and this is one thing, I didn't realize this. So what I just told y'all is legitimately how it spurred up in my heart and mind.
Mm-hmm.
So Diane Miner, who founded Dream Factory of Clarksville and also Camp Rainbow, her and her father, she came up to me at our annual supper a couple weeks ago, and I've known Diane forever. I mean, she was the director of Camp Rainbow when I was 17, 18 years old, going and helping out down there, and her son Jeremy is the director now. But Diane came up to me at the end and she said, Dylan, I'm just so proud of what y'all are doing, because there's so many people of your age that don't realize that the money, they don't want to fundraise, It's kind of, so I was really like, man, that's cool. Cause I don't know, it just made me feel good about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it kind of leads into some of the conversation that I want to have. I think for us, we grew up with these ideas that we do leave a servant, or lead a servant life, right? And that's part of something that's kind of been instilled in our lives, and especially if you're a Christ follower, right? Which unabashedly, we're all Christ followers. Our foundation is Christ-led. There is that desire to help others. Unfortunately, I think we live in a world that has become less about community, and the less you are about community, and more about individual, it's so easy to get distracted and forget helping others is ultimately how we survive as a group, right? As a people.
Goodness, and it gives me. There's not a single guy in our group that doesn't get joy and just purpose and happiness from being a part of something like it. And that's what I was really going to get back to was when Diane said that to me. And what I wanted to kind of say in this is, I would just tell everyone out there, there's not enough people fundraising, so. Not trying to get more people to join us. I mean, feel free if somebody wants to reach out to me. If you're a guy out there and you want to be a part of the group, you reach out. But if you're out there and you have your own idea of how to raise money to support folks like Judy's Hope, or there's plenty of folks in the community that are trying to make a difference and they need funding. So I would just say jump in there, make and I think take a risk and do it. I
think some get stuck because there's so much need. They don't. They start thinking, well, wait, where do I give? What do I do?
Yeah.
We learned from a ministry called Mercy Multiplied. We learned a lot of our programming, just understanding how do you do this to get started. And one of the biggest helpful hints that they gave in one of their classes was, pray about what group are you really wanting to focus on? Because you want to help everybody, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And so pray about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where's your passion? What, if you hear a story about somebody, what gets you going? Like, hang on, I want to do something about that. That might be the way that, God's leading you to give or to support.
That's right. And it's easy to talk about. I think putting action behind our thoughts is that next step that's almost the hardest, right? Because no one ever complains once they volunteer or do something.
Right.
It's always before that it's like you have the excuse. And it is a big passion, I think, of those who are involved, because you're like, man, if I could just show you the lives impacted by Judy's Hope, if I could just show you the kind of community I've built with these young men, older men too, that are involved in the group, your life would be changed, right? And that's a constant struggle. For those, I kind of say they had the curtain pulled back and they saw the rawness of it. For those who've been out of the country and they've been to a third world country, when you get back, your life's forever changed. It's hard to reconcile some of the things you see with the lives, and lifestyle you may live here. It just really is. Yeah. And I think that's the same thing when you're in the trenches, when you're seeing these ladies going through just some of the worst situations, the worst part of their lives, at the lowest part, undoubtedly of their situation, and to be able to be a lifeline. That's got to be transformative. So I'd love if we can take a second, and I don't know if you have a story or anything you don't mind sharing that can kind of just highlight maybe a life that's been affected by your mission.
Okay. Maybe you've seen on our Facebook page, we have our first graduate, 𝗀𝗍. So this is our first year of operation. We are wrapping up our very first year. We've learned a lot of hard lessons.
Yes.
We knew going in that we were trying our best to lay the foundation, but we needed to figure out, okay, hang on, we're going to make changes throughout. And we've done a great job of that. 𝗀𝗍 was one of our very first ladies, and she had so many medical issues. She had come to us from another program, a recovery program in Nashville, and she had 2 of her daughters living with her. And so just she determined to make a difference in her life. She came and she was determined, and she did not give up. Even when she had health issues, when things got in the way, she kept trying. She kept applying to jobs. She did every step that we asked her to take. And now she has great employment. She has her own 2-bedroom apartment. Awesome. And she even got her driver's license and a car.
That's great.
So, that's a success story. One of our current ladies, she came from a very abusive marriage. And she is just the joy of our ladies. She is always positive, always joyful. And she looked at me the other night and she said, you're going to have to kick me out of here. I just love it here. I think she's found some peace and safety. She's she's a blessing. And so we get blessed by a lot
Sure.
of these ladies as well, not
Yeah.
just them blessing us.
Yeah. So, kind of riding that high mountaintop of the amazing stories. And Dylan, I know you got some too. We've talked offline just about how some of the guys' lives are changed by finding that community. But when it's hard, it's also really hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think people who step into this world, whether they are running a nonprofit or just volunteering, we sometimes see the ugly that's involved, and it can be a challenge to keep that enthusiasm. And I'd love to hear from both of you when it does get challenging. What are those things you turn to help build that enthusiasm? What are the tools, the tricks? What if another nonprofit's listening right now and they are in the trenches, which a lot of them are? What's that encouragement you can kind of lean on to share with them?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind, and I don't know if this answers the question, but I think about us or our group in the early days. We were deciding on how are we going to raise money, and we had decided, hey, we're gonna throw a music festival, and doubt is always messing with you. And so when I think about the trenches for us, a lot of times it's just like, are we capable of pulling that off? Can we do that? Especially when it's the first time you've done something. And what I always would hey guys, doesn't matter how successful it is or not, we got to do something. We just got to do something, right? It was funny. I always mess with one of our guys. His name's Matt. He's like very analytical, which we need that. I mean, Matt he's a heartbeat of our organization. But like Dylan, he said, Dylan, if we only made $500, would it be worth it to you? And to me, I said, yeah, absolutely, because we'll learn something. We'll figure out how to make $5,000 next time. And we that first year we made way more than $500. But the point is, my wife always tells me, and she probably heard this from somewhere, but she shared it with me. It's just like, what's the next right decision? Right? Just what's the next right decision? And it's kind of that thought. What's the next right decision? And no matter what, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm just going to do something. So I would say that when you're in the trenches, do something. Just don't sit there. Just do something.
Yeah.
Second, the doubt.
The doubt will get you.
Our executive director and our case manager are the backbone of Judy's Hope. I'm the idea person. They carry it out. They do all the hard work. And there are hard days. You're trying to help women that sometimes they get into our program and realize they aren't really ready for that accountability that they need to have. We've had a couple that have either chosen to leave, or we've just had to have that hard conversation of, you're not ready for the accountability part of it. And it's easy to get down in the dumps there. You have months where it's like, wait, we don't have any donations coming in. What's going on? But inevitably, God sends somebody our way or a situation our way. And I think that's where my gratitude comes from. When I was starting Judy's Hope, I'd start to lag, and I'd just be like, oh, this is too big, God, I can't do this. And I'd start to procrastinate, drag my feet, and inevitably he'd send somebody that would basically tell me, you need to take this next step, go for it. And so, it's all by faith, but God has been faithful and continuously reminding us of our successes, not to give up. We had some hard conversations with some women right before the coalition dinner, and hearing the story of Stephine read out loud to me reminded me, you know what? She had some low days. We felt frustration. She felt frustration, but look what God did. And so, sometimes our minds and the world wants us to focus on only the negative, but we have to remind ourselves, what are the positives? Where have we seen the positives and the growth? I mean, who knew we'd make it through our first year, and here we are, and looking to grow, looking to do more. Just keeping mindful, not letting Satan get in your head and convince you that this isn't worth it. You can't do it. Because I can't do it.
Yeah.
Only God can do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You made a good point, though. I would say that too about like any organization or whatever you're trying to drive forward. If talking to other nonprofits, whatever, we've been very intentional that anyone that wants to join in, they have to have the right heart, and they have to want to be in it because the people are the key. The people are the key. We have a rule. It's like, I don't invite anyone in. I could probably talk anyone into being in it, but that's not what we do. We don't talk people into being in. You can tell people about it, but they have to want to be in, because if you have the right people with the right passion and the right heart, that we all have different talents. Like Ryland's got talents. Matt has his talent. I could never have been, this thing would have not gone anywhere if it wasn't for Daniel and all these guys that have jumped in. And so the people, and like you said, and then just faith. It reminds me of a book, and I've talked about this book before, but Trent Knott, he shared it with me. It's In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. And kind of what you're saying, the things that might be the craziest to attempt to do are the things that God actually wants to jump in. Right. And so just have that faith and go forward with it. And let him show up with, someone or something that'll drive it forward.
When I was researching, I called all different organizations across the nation, the country, just trying to say, what did you do? How did you get started? And there wasn't one that didn't tell me my vision was too big. Every one of them said, you just need to build housing for the homeless, and that's it. And our goal is to interrupt the cycle of homelessness. Our goal is to prevent homelessness, not just to provide the housing, but to prevent it and interrupt the cycle of it.
Exactly.
That's
it made me mad enough to do it.
I love that, because
heck yeah,
staring in the face of adversity, right?
Sure.
When someone says that can't be done, but it's the right decision, and saying, you know what, we'll figure this out, right? And y'all had a lot of hurdles from the sidelines. I saw like zoning, I'm sure was a challenge. Setbacks, I'm sure were a challenge. Financial was a challenge.
I thought it was going to be, and to get the property itself, it was a challenge. But our city council and the mayor stepped up behind our beliefs, and they supported us. And the building community came out and just astounded me. Every time I turned around, Bryce was telling me, hey, we've got another donation of materials. Hey, our roofing is going to be free. Our siding company, they have a grant that they're able to apply to us. And so it was just time after time, I'd look at Bryce, I'm like, what have we done? How can we do this?
You unleash the craziness. It's good, right?
Right. But the constant support. And that's where the community, like groups like the Coalition, come into play. For organizations like ours, when we have people that believe in us, it reminds us that God's behind us, and that, hey, don't give up.
That's
Keep
cool.
going.
It's
circular.
It's a circle of life too. Yeah, it's awesome how it works that way, because y'all give us energy.
Well, and I think, I want to go back to this word you used, intentional. And actually, I was thinking of a different book that you had mentioned to me as Intentional Father, or The
Intentional Father.
And it's sitting on my desk, not on my bookshelf. It's sitting on my desk because I intend to read it over Christmas. And we talked about that, and while that's more focused on fatherhood, right, which is super important, what draws me back to that is this idea that there's a group of people that are doing some great things, nonprofits, but then there's this other group of people that's being intentional about changing a culture, and really you're kind of doing both. You're doing that with these ladies that you, like you said, you're trying to stop homelessness, right? Which has its whole list of symptoms that come from that.
Right.
So you're preventing it. You're on the other forefront saying, I want to create a generation of men who are changing this idea that it's just about us, and that I have a family that I'm responsible for. I have a community I'm responsible for. And my job is to take care of those, both of them. And both have this importance in our lives. And I think we talk about the ties and the connector pieces. They're mutual.
They are.
Right? And you need them and they need you. And I think our community needs that.
We all need each other for sure.
Yeah. And I wish more people would see that. But I want to talk about, what does that look like for y'all? What is that connection? We've kind of touched on it. What do y'all see as far as connecting things together? And I'll start with you, Karen. You get a lot of support, I think, from multiple different avenues.
We do.
How do you balance that?
Oh,
Do you balance it, right?
Yeah,
It's hard.
Are you meaning like financially and then physically as well? Like,
yeah,
I know.
I think just managing those relationships, the relationship side of that, because I'm sure it can be challenging at times when you have different groups trying to help where they can, but maybe it's not even the right path that they need to help. You need it somewhere else, right?
Right. So our executive director has been phenomenal working with local groups that physically give of items or whatever. She'll guide them a little bit in that. She's great about maintaining those relationships, letting them know what our needs are, as far as donation of materials and items that the women and children need. And honestly, the relationship with groups like the Coalition has come really easy.
I was gonna say, I don't feel just in our own relationship, Karen never had to sell us.
Yeah.
Right.
I like Karen. I like you a lot. I think you're a
It helps, right?
wonderfully kind human. But we weren't ever looking at Karen like, all right, really tell us. Yeah, we just believed in what they're doing. I mean, their action speaks enough volume.
Yeah.
So we just
Thank you.
we don't really expect anything from her other than just to run her, make sure they're doing their thing, and we just want to keep support.
That's right.
So I don't know if that.
And we've struggled a little bit with some grants and organizations. They like to fund specific projects, and we find that sometimes is limiting for us. Because our main project is our programming for our women, supporting them every day, making sure the bills are paid. But you don't put that on a sheet. These organizations, they don't want that. They want to see, our garden, for example. We were able to get support for the garden that we have. But there's only so many projects you can actually come up with. That are worthwhile. And so we're always just spinning our heads and like, okay, hang on. How can we do this and what do the women need? We don't want to just arbitrarily say, well, let's come up with a project just to get money.
Yeah.
Because that money has to go towards that project. It doesn't help our programming or, the items that we do for the women, the art projects and stuff like that. Now, some do. But I think that's probably been our biggest challenge is learning to navigate applying for grants, applying through local organizations for the funding that they give, and finding the way to word what we need accurately, while also being sure that we're being responsible.
Yeah.
And making sure that we aren't just asking for money for things that we don't really need at that point. But
yeah, that's a great point. Being responsible and transparent.
Correct.
In what you do. And that makes it a lot easier for people to give, I think.
Sure.
And we found that kind of across the board. We do a lot personally with the APACs. And I think one of the keys to their success is they're just transparent.
They are.
And they welcome that hard look into them. And it makes it very easy to trust them when someone's like, hey,
here you go.
See whatever you want. Like, I'm happy to show you.
And they're a huge blessing for us. Our women got Christmas because of them.
Oh, that's amazing.
And for their children. They let the women shop for their children.
Shout
and
out
many
Sherry.
of them ended up in tears just out of gratitude.
They just to briefly touch on them, what Sherry has done with that organization. And while it's not about her, she's been a inspiration, I think, for a group that is going to last, a long time. And I really think we're just starting to see the fruit of groups like that. Yeah. A big reason we support them, which is similar to being a part of the coalition, is because they do support all these other great groups that we see value in, but they can really focus in and say, hey, we can get direct impact to who needs it. Where sometimes, in just all honesty, we're stumbling blocks, right? Like sometimes we want to be helpful and, you show up after a disaster and there's 500 people trying to be helpful, but really you need a group to take point and take charge and lead, right? And I think that can be very true sometimes when you get a little chaos into the mix. You need that group that just says, here's the way, right? And you can jump on board. So I want to go back for a second too. I shared this story a few times on our podcast, and we talked about getting up out of our seat and doing something, right? Like for both of y'all, there's ways to give, whether it be financially or time, talent, treasure, right? We use those words kind of frequently. And I don't know how much benefit each one, but I think in general in my life, what I want to inspire my children to do is to give back in all three ways as much as they can. and the people listening, I hope the same for them, and lead my life like that. But I always remind of the starfish story, and our producers have heard this several times, and if you listen to our podcast, you've heard it as well. But there was a young kid on the beach throwing starfish back into the ocean, and there was thousands of them on the beach. And an older person walked up to him and said, "What are you doing, son?" And he said, "Well, I'm throwing a starfish in." And he goes, "Don't you see there's thousands of them? What impact do you think you're going to make?" And he said, "I don't know, but I'm making an impact on this one."
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
That one action, that one act of serving and giving can have an impact on one person. And that one person can go on to change millions of lives. Right. So yeah, let's talk about 2025, which I'm excited about. We're very close.
Yes.
We're wrapping up our first year of being the Millan Foundation. I don't know if you've talked about goals, Dylan. We've talked a little bit about that, and
working on it.
Yeah, we're working on some of that stuff. I'd love to see what do y'all see as maybe one challenge coming into 2025 and one opportunity coming into 2025.
Okay.
I know, tough question.
Well, this will kind of tie back into a little bit of what we were just talking about, and I was thinking about as you said it. So we knew that coalition, we wanted it, part of the mission is the fellowship side. I didn't realize what an impact that would be, even in my own life, or, others have told stories. But also, and then you just mentioned with 𝗍𝗍𝗶, generational. And I thought, man, that's really cool. And that's become a part of our deal of partly why I have the viewpoint or the heart that, I've been given is because of my parents, because of my father, my mother, they've always been servants. So we're focusing this year, or an opportunity. I think it was what was it? Was it
a challenge and an opportunity?
An opportunity for us would be, we really want to really maybe hone some of more of our effort this year and just helping each other out as a brotherhood. How that play, in what ways we're still working on that, but also, opportunities to take our sons along to we got to go help y'all clean up trees one time. That was an amazing time. But there's more stuff like that out there, so that the next generation understands how, well, for one, how big the need is, but for two, how life-giving it is.
That's right.
For them, it'll be good for their souls.
Yeah.
For my sons to understand that, and my daughters too. So that's an opportunity. I think we've talked about it. A challenge, I think, is for us. We've continued to grow as far as the amount of money we've been able to give away, and so while we want to continue, you always want to grow. You always want to be able to give more than you did the last year. Just figuring out what that looks like. Other events, we hadn't really talked about it, but the way we raise money is we throw a music festival. We've had a couple other little small things, but we have events. And so just looking at how do we actually make, how can we raise more money with, the time we have, but also not lose sight of, the brotherhood. And we don't want our group to just become, hey, we got to make more money. That's all it is, because it's more than just that. So I don't know if that's challenges and opportunities right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess for Judy's Hope, we have some great opportunities. We are planning to expand our community center.
Awesome.
We instantly had outgrown it. We need a more dedicated children's area. And so we plan to add on to the back of our community center for that. And we hope to add 4 more houses as well to hopefully be able to expand. But growing intentionally, not just to grow. Originally, we had thought, let's build a whole new community center and have 2. But then I kind of stepped back and I thought, hang on, what can we do with what we have now and use our money to the best of our abilities, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's an opportunity and a challenge to make sure we're serving the women that join our program the best that we can. while not overgrowing too quickly, but also trying to say, okay, what do they need? What are we seeing a need from here? So just a mixed, making sure that we're continuing to seek the women that are needing help, and just trying to hone our programming more and more so that we meet the needs of everybody.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. There's, I'm sure, other nonprofits out right now who are looking at next year.
Mm-hmm.
Some with their head in their hands, going, "Oh no, this is a scary year."
Yeah.
And sometimes that's for good, right? Because we're trusting big dreams.
Right.
Some of it is, hey, this has been a tough year, and I really don't know how next year is going to look. What do y'all both do in different respects to what your mission is? You talk about being intentional. What do you do to be intentional about thinking, where are we going? What are those action items kind of look like for y'all? And we'll start with you, Karen, if that's okay.
Okay. I have to do a shout out to my executive director again. She's always like, we need a 3 and 5 year plan. Like, come on. Because I know in my head where I want it to go, but sometimes for me to lay it out is
Everything
hard.
you're saying sounds really familiar to myself.
We
have similar
2 weeks ago.
We have similar personalities.
Right.
It's all in there. It's in there.
It's there.
Y'all just, I'll tell you at some point.
I do offer that service, by the way.
Okay.
It's free of charge.
Okay,
I'm
that's
happy
great.
to come help.
That's great. We could
He's
use
good
that
at
for
that.
sure. Again, it's to grow intentionally. We do see a need for more family houses. We're having more women with children apply than women without children. Right now, we have 8 total houses. 4 are for women without children, and 4 are for women with children. Now we've adjusted, and women that might have 1 child, then we've got a cot, and we brought it in for the smaller houses so that we're able to help these women that are applying more and more. And it's just to think through, okay, again, our programming. We've really started to develop a great relationship with local organizations that have been helping our women. Goodwill has been amazing in helping our women with their resumes. They help guide them in seeking out opportunities for jobs. And just making sure that we are intentional about not just going through daily life, but how, helping the women to progress as they need to. We're learning how to help that in a positive way without being too pushy, but at the same time being accountable. Like I said, we are, we want to honor those that are supporting us by being sure that we're loving on these women, and we also have a little bit of tough love mixed in there too.
Yeah. That accountability, that kind of, it's actually both ways, right? You're holding someone else accountable, and there's people also holding you accountable, right?
Correct.
I would kind of jump in there and say, it reminds me of when my wife and I first got married and we didn't have a budget. And if you don't have a budget, then there's no, you're not really aiming at a target. You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then, got on the Dave Ramsey thing, and love him or hate him, it's been helpful for us. So when we have a budget and when we're following the plan, which is all it really is, your financials will work out really well. So I just would take that to say, and if you're not that type of person, it goes back to having the people, because I'm not that type of person. Thankfully, Amber is a planner, my wife I'm speaking of. But, Ryland's that type of person. Matt Stokes is that type of person. Daniel's that type of person within our organization. And so thankfully, between all of us, we're actually this year, we're really trying to refocus and kind of go back and have a new not a new intentional plan, but an intentional plan, and have it written down. Like, get someone to work with you to write down what you want for this year, what you want for 5 years. If you don't have it written down, then you're throwing a dart at a board that's not there. And so, but the other part of me would say, don't get too caught up in that.
It's a painful process.
Don't get too caught up. Don't worry about it. Don't let it stress you out, because I'm not that person. And it goes back to what we said earlier, do something.
Yeah.
And also I would say, I was just listening to, not to love him or hate him, I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day, and he talked about, I thought this was really interesting. Think about that podcast. It is the, most, whatever. Joe, he was doing that just for fun because he just loved it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He never was worried about the money. It wasn't about that. He
That's
just
right.
loved doing it.
Yeah.
He just loved doing it.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
figure out something you love, figure out something you're passionate about, and just start doing it.
That's right.
Now, as you grow, for us, now we're hitting our 5-year mark. Now we got to go, okay, but now how do we do it better?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Without changing
if
the
you're
curve.
early on,
Yeah.
I would say, yes, get something written down, but just more than anything, go do something.
Yeah.
But once you get some things rolling, now really sit down and develop a plan for yourself.
Yeah.
It'll snowball what you've got going
Yeah.
on. I think.
No, 100%. It's analysis paralysis. We see it a lot with small
Yeah.
businesses
Yeah.
and different groups that we work with. And you're never ready. You're never ready to have kids. You're never ready to buy a house. There's always these things like, well, if I had this, if I did this, if I planned this. In reality, sometimes you just got to do it, right? You got to jump in and do it. And so you're kind of in the startup phase,
Mhm.
for a couple years, maybe even a little longer. And then there's this point where it's this weight of responsibility that comes on and says, man, we're here, we've
Yeah.
accomplished something, but what do we leave now? Where are we going? How do we get intentional with this? And we had another group in a couple months ago, and they do some work in Haiti, and Emmanuel, Haiti, and they do some absolutely amazing work. And it started the same way. It started with a simple mission trip that blossomed into something unbelievable. And it came a point in time where they said, if we're going to have impact in these communities, we have to get an intentional plan of how do we do that impact. They went from bringing clothes and toys and resources into Haiti to, hey, we no longer do that because we're disrupting the local economy by doing it. So we're going to take money and we're going to go down there and partner with people that we know and trust and have built relationships with to help build and sustain their local economy.
That's good.
And again, if they would have done nothing, they'd have never got to that point.
Exactly.
Right.
And it took
Right.
a minute to figure that
Kind of
out.
fail a little bit,
Exactly. And so
learn.
don't get caught up on a playbook that doesn't even exist yet.
Mhm.
And if you need one, ChatGPT will get you started,
Yeah.
right? Like use what you got in front of you.
And it reminds me when we first started ours, we have bylaws because we're a nonprofit, so you have to have bylaws. And it was something about new members or something. And it was this, I can't even remember what it was about, but we came to I think Matt actually said it. He said, Dylan, the bylaws are meant to serve us, not us serve the bylaws.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So if you have a plan and you got a plan, it's a good plan, but then you are working the plan and something's not right, change the plan.
That's right.
Change
That's
the
right.
plan.
That's right. Well, Leo Millan has a saying. He says a bad decision today is better than a good decision tomorrow. And it took me a long time to figure out what that actually meant.
Right.
But then you start working with people and you're like, oh yeah, because inaction doesn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
You're literally no better or no worse. You're staying the same. And at least with making mistakes, you can learn from it. And that gets progress.
That's it.
I will say that's where I'm grateful for my board of directors too.
Yeah.
Is like you said, have the people
That's right.
that have all the different talents and they give me suggestions and guidance, and I feel like I'm pulling my teeth out trying to get myself to do it. But
Yeah.
No,
but they're patient, they're good, and they're
Having the right people is key.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I would kind of end with, our recommendations for nonprofits is, if you're at that stage where you haven't done anything, of course, jump in. It's an easy thing to kind of lay that groundwork for you. But if you're a group or an organization that's at that point where it's like, hey, we've been doing some good work, we need to figure out what that next level is. And I think you kind of faced that recently. That's what we've been in discussion about, Dylan. And what you kind of recognize is there is a responsibility that we kind of be a caretaker now of this. And so it's not to hold back the potential, but it's to kind of put some guardrails. That's how I usually like to describe it. Some guardrails to protect the heart and mission of what it was created. And then sometimes even be a little bit more intentional. From a leadership perspective, my hat, when I put that on, goes to without clarity becomes confusion. And sometimes good intentions can lead to a little bit of unnecessary noise within something, right? It can distract from what the heart and the mission is. And so being in leadership roles and being a part of organizations that are highly successful or organizations that are kind of coming out of that startup phase, my encouragement to you is to spend that time around wise leaders, around people that are grounded in faith, believe the things you believe, are entrusted with the vision that you have, to help you formulate that kind of playbook.
Right.
It's not a live or die by any means. It changes and it grows.
I would say, I've literally not made one decision on my own. Not one. I call Daniel for everything. I call Matt for everything. Because, the more knowledge is a good thing.
That's right.
Right.
Let people help you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said it best. Let people help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very difficult thing, I think, to have a vision and a desire to help others. And maybe you've experienced that a little bit, Karen, of I have this passion, but I also got to let people into that passion. And sometimes you can want to kind of like,
I definitely do that.
I know, that's why I didn't ask him.
Yeah.
I definitely do that.
Right.
No.
It's hard. It is hard because you have a dream on your heart, and you have to. I think there's wisdom in praying through.
Sure.
Like every board member, our initial board was sought through prayer. God laid every one of those people on our hearts, and they stuck with me through the thick and thin of getting started. In fact, they were, after the first year, I was like, well, so we're not going to actually count that first year as y'all serving, because we were just getting going. Can y'all start fresh now?
Yeah. I love that.
And every one of them was like, yeah. And they would be the encouragement too, that you've got this kind of thing. So yeah, just
that's such a good point. And there's got to be a verse, and I'm not biblically astute enough, but I think it's like, who is the grand advisor?
Oh yeah.
There's something in there. Consulting with
God,
the advisor is really important.
Absolutely.
So that's good.
Yeah.
and I just trusted him. Some said no, and I wanted them to say no if they felt the need to say no.
Yeah.
At that time, that wasn't an insult to me by any means. It was hey, they aren't ready for that yet.
That's
that
right.
means that God's got somebody else in mind.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, we're kind of hitting the end of the time.
Okay.
I would first, I have a ending question, but first I'd love for you to plug your organization.
Okay.
So where can they learn more about Judy's Hope?
Just judyshope.org. That'll lead them through what we are. It has places on the website to donate. It also has an email on there to email us for questions or thoughts.
Awesome.
We also have a Facebook page too.
Yeah. And y'all put some stuff out, some amazing stories. So if you haven't heard
We
their
try.
story, I would encourage you to go, see what they're doing, because you actually, transparency, right? Y'all
We
show
try.
some
We
of,
try.
what you
Absolutely.
got going on. So Dylan, what about y'all?
I would say the third party in our situation is, the community. And so we didn't really get into it, but we host Banking Festival. It's a music festival, art, food.
What's the date of that next year?
It'll be around the third Saturday in September. We don't have the date yet. We'll have it out in January or February, coming soon. But it's usually around the third weekend in September. But I would say, if you want to help us help them and a couple others, come to our events. We're planning some others as well, but the main one right now is Banking Festival. It's in the fall in September. You can go to 𝗨�57 and there's all the information about our organization. There's a tab for Banking Festival, so you can, see. I think last year we had 5 bands. Great time, and really, having a great community event is super important to us, because that also is just good for the community.
Yeah.
And we have an event planned, actually.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, share. Yeah. Let's hear
We
it.
haven't put that out yet, but it's coming. April 10th is our annual trivia night.
Awesome.
So grab up a team, come play trivia with us,
Fun.
and give us some support. We'll have a silent auction while you're there. And
You have a location yet?
First Baptist Church,
Awesome.
downtown Clarksville, on
Okay.
April 10th.
Awesome.
So
Yeah. Well, I'm going to come back to banking real quick, because we didn't get to talk about it a whole lot. And
that's bank-in.
thank you.
Banking.
Thank you for spelling that. Yeah.
People struggle with it.
I
I don't even know
struggle
why
with
we
it.
named it
Yeah.
that. Really,
y'all
I
have
don't
a
really know.
Facebook page?
It's
We
a
do.
conversation.
Well, we do have.
Right?
We're on. Yeah,
Or is it the Coalition page?
Coalition is on Instagram and Facebook as
Yeah.
well. Coalition for Cause.
Yeah.
So, but anyways,
But
banking.
past 4 years, an amazing festival. Group of guys just get together and do this out towards Port Royal. It's at Run Amok
Outfitters.
Yep. It is truly like a little festival in Clarksville. I think it's a hidden thing that
I agree
that we'd love to have more people out. It is completely family oriented. My kids come, they play in the hay bales. They have this big kids area. There's art. Art Link is there.
Live art going on. Art Link is always there.
And your food trucks keep getting better.
That's right. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. They cost me a lot of money. So.
It's funny. We had people on the porch, which is a band. They play at Pilgrimage each year. They were our headliner this year. And the way they describe it's a grassroots festival. It's in the middle of the country, and it's kind of hard to find that kind of festival anymore. So it's really cool. Just come check it out. It's kind of hard to explain, but I haven't ever had anyone tell me to my face that they had a bad time. So
yeah. Even when it's hot or a little cold or a little rainy, it's always been a good time.
We have had some rain.
There's been a little bit of every bit of weather. No snow yet.
Snow.
But there's an awesome video that's coming out this year, and that'll really highlight what that festival's about. But I would encourage you, if you're listening and you're in the Clarksville area, this is an event that I think is so easy to go to. Doesn't cost a lot of money, but your money goes to organizations like Judy's Hope and other ones in the community that, I think are doing just absolutely amazing things. And it talks about that partnership. But banking is an easy avenue to just go do something that's fun and bring your family. It's not expensive. It's affordable. And it's such a great time. Next September,
follow us on social media.
And I think the most impressive thing about Coalition is you'll have almost zero overhead. You break your bank every year, giving back to the community just to start over.
We do. I've always been proud of our guys for making that decision that we literally empty the bank account. Matt Stokes always says, "Hey guys, let's stay scrappy. We don't want to hold anything back. We want to literally just start from zero every year." And that forces us to, like you said, stay scrappy and make it happen.
Yeah, amazing. Truly amazing. All right, last question. If you had a magic wand and you could do anything you wanted, what would you do?
Oh, mercy.
That's a good one. Sheesh. Man, what are we going to do, Karen?
I don't know.
Well, golly, this is off topic.
Just keep helping.
I really love
make a difference.
Yeah, I agree. That's good. If I had a magic wand, I really love coaching.
There you go.
Full-time retire and just coach sports.
Yeah. Wrestling, soccer, all of it.
Soccer. I just enjoy that. So
that's awesome.
That's what I'd do.
Yeah. Well, we hope you have an amazing New Year's. If you're listening to this, I'm not even sure when this is coming out, so they'll probably yell at me later about that. But 2025 is going to be an amazing year. We hope that you get off the couch, you get involved. If you're an organization struggling right now, we hope that over this next year you will have opportunities to see the light, opportunities to get plugged in, opportunities to get the education you need to advance your cause. There's so much need in our community and across the world, and everyone has a different passion about something. And so the Millan Foundation hopes to provide that education, provide those resources, and we'll continue to have programming next year on how to do that. But thank you for listening. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you,
I'm sure either one would be happy to answer questions later if you want to hit them up, and us as well. We're always happy to be here for you. Thank you so much.
Visit our website to stay up to date with everything going on at MillanFamilyFoundation.org. Thank you for listening to Millan Foundation Conversations. And until next time, do the next kind thing.